Hey there, and welcome back to the video series about how we create a Firebase REST API using Cloud Functions. We created the project last time and we have the database set up now, so that is awesome. And now we need to work on the actual application written in JavaScript. So the first thing we need is that we need Node.js. That is a requirement for using these Cloud Functions. So search on Google for that and install it. And we also need Postman. That is a really handy program that will let us test the API to send the request and to monitor the responses that we get back. So that is really cool. Download that app, and we're going to use that in a minute also. Then I'm going to use Visual Studio Code to write the code in and get bash as a terminal. And the first thing we need to do, because I'm in this directory here and it is work in JavaScript, I'm gonna make a new directory for that inside JavaScript. So we put in Firebase Cloud API, and we I'm just gonna open that folder inside Visual Studio Code, Firebase Cloud API. So that is gonna reinitialize code here, and then we can open a terminal in the correct directory. Okay, so now we need to have Firebase tools installed. That is a CLI, command line interface, that will let us interact with Firebase and connect our Firebase project with this project here. So we're gonna do Firebase init, and maybe it's gonna ask you to log in. I think I've actually already logged in on the project, but if it says you should do Firebase login, you do that, and then you need to select a Google account that you want to associate. And that is really important, that you use the same Google account as you used for creating the Firebase project in here. But we get this otherwise in Firebase init afterwards, and then we are ready to proceed. So what do we want to use for our project? And we can use the database, the Firestore, and functions. And we're going to use the database, but for this project it is most important to use the functions, the Cloud Functions. And then in each of the functions we're going to use the database. So we select Cloud Functions and hit enter, and then we want to use an existing project, so we select that, and we recall that the project name in Firebase was Firebase Cloud REST API, and it's right here, so we select the top one there, the blue one. So now it's going to generate a functions directory where it's going to host a Node.js code. It's going to ask us what language, JavaScript or TypeScript. I'm going to do this in JavaScript. We want to use ESLint to catch bugs. Do we want to install dependencies? Yeah, we want to do that. So now npm is going to install all the necessary dependencies for this project. And we can already see now that it has generated these functions and the index.js. And this is the most important file we're going to work with. So this is where all the action is going to be done. We need to install 2 more dependencies before we can start coding. And one of them, and let me just put this a little bit higher. We're going to install Express, because Express is going to kind of be the middleware between our database here and then our code. So we're using Express, or installing Express with npm. And we also need to install something called cores. Alright, so now let's type some JavaScript code in this index.js file. The comment, I'm going to delete this in the beginning, and we can see we have already a reference to our Firebase functions, so that is good. We can actually use that in because we need to generate other references to other things in our app here. We need admin. We need a reference to Express. We need cores. And then we need a reference to our app. So first Firebase, we need to put in Firebase admin. We need to have a reference to our Express. We need cores. And then we need to actually create our our Express app. So we do this way here, and in here we will define the routes that we need. So it's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be a CRUD. So we have create, we have read, we have update, delete, and then in the end here we're gonna export our Express app as a Cloud Functions or a Cloud Function using HTTPS, and it is actually going to execute this. It's going to call the function whenever there is a new request. This is basically what this means. So export the API to Firebase Cloud Functions. Alright, so if we start by making a really simple route here, then you can see how the structure is. We're using our Express app, and then we specify the method, the HTTP method, and let's just make a simple hello world that will output hello world to this, and then we specify the route in here, and let's call it hello world. And then for this we do a request and we get a response back. Whoop. And we do a function here, function call. So this is the basic structure for a route, and we have the Express app, we have the method. This is going to be get because we're just going to output something. So we're going to return a response with a status 200, meaning it is okay. And we're going to send this message to our user, hello world, that we see in other programming languages. So just for information, the create route will be a post, and this is going to be a get. This probably will be a put method, and this is going to be a delete. Okay, so if we test this, we can start a local development server with npm. Before we need to actually be inside the functions directory, because this is where our index.js is located. So we do this, and then we can issue npm run serve, and this should launch our development server. Alright, so we can see that it is located on localhost 5000, port 5000, and then Firebase CRUD REST API, and then /app. So we can hit Control or Command on a Mac, and it's going to open up a browser, and it says cannot get this because we haven't really defined any root route. So I haven't defined any route that is right here. I'm just making hello world. So if we specify hello world, whoop, we can see we get some response back. We get the response from Express, and yeah, we're not connected to the database yet, but it is alive, the Express app here. All right, this is almost it for this video. Let's just really briefly launch Postman, because Postman is really good to test APIs, because this is okay for a really simple route, but when we start doing routes that has parameters and arguments, it is much easier to use Postman. And you probably need to make an account in here or something like this with a username. But when you've done this, you can create a new collection, and let's just put this Firebase Cloud Functions. And I'm gonna call this localhost, because if we need to do one that is remote, we can just create a new one called remote. So we hit create there. So now we have Firebase Cloud Functions. Close this one there, and right click, add request. So let's we give it a name, basic hello world test. So we say save that, and we have a basic get request here. We can click on that, and then we can see as a get request we can select the different requests here, or the different methods, And I need to copy the URL from the browser. Whoop. And then we put it back here. And this is a rather simple one because we don't have any parameters. We don't have any arguments at the moment. But if we hit send on this, we probably get the same result. Yeah, we get status 200 as we told the Express app, 200 there, and hello world. So now we've created the first request in Postman, and we're going to be doing much more when we start doing the CRUD routes as well. So this is it for this video here. Thank you for watching and have fun with this. Bye bye.